So I recently got my hands on the new MacBook Pro with the M1 Max chip, and I want to share with you guys what it's been like to use this machine and why it's replacing my beloved M1 Mac Mini. And I'm sure you've seen all the reviews online, but spoiler alert, this thing's really good. As I mentioned, you probably already have seen or read or heard all the rave reviews about this new MacBook Pro. And although I echo that sentiment, I'm here to share with you my own personal thoughts after using this for a few weeks. Back in 2019, I started off with an Apple certified refurbished 2018 MacBook Pro. It had an i7 processor and 32 gigs of RAM, and the total cost was nearly $4,000. That is after taxes and Apple Care. And it was expensive, yes, I know, but I wanted a machine that could perform well enough for my graphic design business as well as for me to edit videos. But then in November of 2020, Apple introduced the Mac Mini with the M1 chip, and I got one. Now my Mac Mini only had 16 gigs of RAM, but with the M1 chip, it basically just flat out embarrassed my old MacBook. And it cost nearly 3 times less. The M1 chip made the Mac Mini silly fast and completely silent. And since then, I've used the Mac Mini as my main computer, and that made the old MacBook Pro kind of like a backup computer that I really didn't want to use. But thankfully, I managed to trade in my old MacBook for a credit of $1,100, bringing the total price to around $2,500, including taxes and Apple Care, which technically makes this new laptop cheaper than my old one. So now we get to the question as to why I even decided to get this if I loved the M1 Mac Mini to begin with. Simply put, having a portable computer is very crucial for me for many reasons, but I'm not gonna bore you with that. And that's besides the fact that this thing is even more bonkers when it comes to performance. Even though most of the time this laptop is docked, I feel like I need to at least talk about the design and the performance compared to my old MacBook. So the first time I saw the photos, I didn't really like it that much because it reminded me too much of the old MacBook. So I felt like it was a step back in terms of design. However, after holding it in my hands, I'm completely sold. The Apple logo is much larger, which I think offsets the overall understated look, and material choice and quality is superb, as expected from Apple. I don't even mind that it's a bit thicker than my previous MacBook Pro, because I think it's also a bit easier to hold. This is the 14-inch model, which to me is the right size. And if we're talking simply about aesthetics, I think this looks better than the 16-inch, just because the speakers on the sides are thinner. The Liquid Retina XDR display looks really good, and it's considerably better than the old models. It's also much closer in terms of brightness and color accuracy to my 5K LG monitor. Although if I'm being honest, I don't really notice the 120Hz ProMotion display, at least maybe not in the same way that I do using my iPad Pro. Oh, and the notch doesn't bother me the least bit. The thing that stands out the most, aside from the beautiful screen, is the keyboard. They look very nice in this matte black color, and they feel really good to type with. There's enough tactility to know that each keystroke is registering, and they feel very satisfying. I can't even tell you how much I don't miss the touch bar. And trust me, after spending almost $4,000 on my old MacBook, you better believe that I tried my darnest to find a reason to love it. Now, I particularly like the focus button on the top row because with a single button, I can now silence unwanted notifications across devices. To me, this is a very welcome addition. So the way I tested the battery was how I would simply use the thing normally. So I did some light editing, some graphic design work, and some browsing and general email tasks, and also watching an hour-long Netflix show with the brightness at 100% the entire time. About 4 hours later, my battery was around 30%. In comparison, my old MacBook would have required me to plug it in probably 2 hours in. So the camera has been significantly improved in terms of resolution, but it's still a bit weird to use because unless you have your laptop on a riser, you still look like your elderly parents trying to figure out today's technology. It's a bit crazy to think how cameras have become essential in today's professional world of Zoom calls and virtual meetings. I only wish that the camera had a wider field of view to make it less in your face. Now, if you're not happy with your camera for your laptop or even your main setup, you can just go out and buy webcams. They're everywhere. But unfortunately, most of them are ugly and really bulky. Fortunately, I discovered this sleek looking camera by Lumina, and they also happen to be the sponsors for this video. The Lumina is an ultra-wide 4K camera with built-in dual noise cancelling microphones. The body is made of aluminum and is surprisingly tiny. The camera can automatically adjust the colors and settings to give you the best picture quality depending on the lighting condition. But you also have control of numerous settings through the Lumina desktop app. Things like artificial depth of field, which blurs your background if you want to try to hide any unwanted mess. Because of the 4K resolution, the camera is able to punch in closer, and using AI, Lumina lets the camera follow you around. And because privacy is important, Lumina also comes with a magnetic cover. I was pleasantly surprised at how premium this product feels, from packaging to build quality. This camera is definitely something that you need to consider if you're looking for a webcam. Aside from the fact that they look really nice, they also come in 4 different colors. And that's another plus. Learn more about Lumina by visiting the link at the top of the description box. Okay, so let's get on with how I use this laptop with my setup. I like to keep my desk clean and clutter-free, most of the time. So I decided to use this Grove-made dock and tuck my MacBook Pro to the side. Using the ports, I connect my MacBook Pro to my 5K LG monitor and my CalDigit TS3 Plus. This CalDigit is critical to my setup because it gives me access to an Ethernet port, something that the MacBook Pro still lacks. Also, the SD slot is much more accessible through here. The LG monitor is still my favorite monitor to this day. The size and pixel density is just perfect for editing my photos. Since my current desk pad is covering the grommets, I decided to get a smaller sized matte desk pad also from Grove-made. I route all the cables through this grommet at the back of my desk to keep things nice and tidy. And I simply position this MagSafe stand so that I don't have to stare at it. This MacBook Pro is a mid-tier build with a 10-core processor and 32 gigs of unified memory. It is dead silent, even under heavy load. Editing in Final Cut Pro has been ridiculously smooth, and not having to hear the fans kick on is perfect for when I'm recording a podcast. And speaking of podcasting, for my microphone, I'm using Rode's Pod Mic along with their new PSA 1 Plus boom arm. It has fully damped springs for silent operation and has integrated clips to manage cables. The headphones I'm using are the new Beyerdynamic DT700 Pro X. They're great for recording and build quality is superb. I especially love the supple velour earpads. And the rest of my setup has remained mostly unchanged. I still have my Mac Mini mounted underneath my desk in case I need it for backup. And because it's still a beast of a machine, it's actually great to have a backup that doesn't suck. And since getting the new MacBook Pro, I can once again enjoy the portability and convenience of a laptop. This time though, I can actually use it without the anxiety of looking for an electrical socket or suffer the unrelenting fan noise from previous models. It's a laptop that actually feels like it belongs in the year 2021. A ton of great performance with convenience and usability all rolled into one. Thanks for watching this video, and I also want to send a quick shout out to all those who commented on my last video talking about the evolution of my setup. I just want to say that even if you just did that to join the giveaway, I appreciate you. You can help support me by subscribing to the channel and sharing this with your friends and your family. So until next time, take care.